Alright, welcome back to a van build, and it's nice and cold out, just perfect for what we're used to.
It is minus 17 Celsius out there right now. We were supposed to go winter camping and it has been raining for the last bunch of days.
Until last night.
Until last night we woke up to a fresh dumping of snow, so we decided, well, we don't have time to go to camping anymore, so why don't we insulate the doors?
Yeah, so we've already had some cold temperatures here. We've been running the heater. We don't really want to do a full winterization on this van in the sense of like draining out all the water, because we do want to use it regularly over the winter. Same thing with the batteries. We just want to keep those above zero. So we have been running the heater in here for the last month and a bit, and we just leave the thermostat set to 8 degrees when we're not in here. And then that does a pretty good job of keeping the temperature at that, but I'm concerned when it's like minus 30 degrees out with these doors that we have here, like it's just completely exposed, and then the doors on the back there are also exposed. So those are gonna let off a lot of heat, and you can actually see it in the winter when a fresh snowfall has come. The sides of the van where the spray foam is are all completely, it's all covered in snow, but then the doors that are not insulated are completely melted. So you know the heat's coming out there. So we're gonna just go ahead, and I think our plan is to put a temporary fix in place here for the winter, because we really want to do some really nice finishing touches here with some paneling and everything, and then put the insulation behind that. For now, we're just gonna go ahead and use some insulation and wrap it all in there. It's not going to look the prettiest, but it's going to be functional for the winter months. So
I think for the permanent solution, we're looking at the options of like sheep's wool and a few other options. So if you have any suggestions on what has worked best or what you've seen, we'd love to hear that from you. But in the meantime, we're just using regular pink insulation.
Or it's the greenish stuff, yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's a little bit better. And then I know it's important that you go ahead and like vapor barrier and seal it. We're gonna do our best to do as much of that today, but really this is only gonna be in here for a few months. And then we're gonna go ahead and find a more permanent solution. I do already see a few complications, because this door, when we open it, we've got this cabinet here. It's gonna make it a little harder to go ahead and get into the black panel down there. But we'll shove some stuff in there. The back doors should be pretty easy.
Just open those up and...
Yeah, so let's get started. We're gonna try, and then we'll test it tonight, because I do have a thermometer in here that's Wi-Fi, and I can see by the hour what the temperature is. I've got that thermometer at the very back of the van. We have our heater at the front here, and I'll show you my little contraption that I've put in place here. So our heater's underneath the passenger seat, and what I've done just to kind of, when the van's in storage, to keep kind of really even distribution of heat, is put this dryer vent here. And then that just leads all the way down. It's got a few holes poked in it, and then goes underneath the bed. That way we've got even heat distribution under the bed all the way through the van, and then that way all of our water is nice and a good temp. So we're gonna have to see if I could have done that again. I might have put the heater underneath this seat, and then that way it would distribute underneath the bed and out into the main area. And I've seen a lot of people do that, but it's just, that's probably the most common place for people to put heaters. Yeah. And what we may do, like for storage, this air duct vent is not a problem. It works really well. But maybe when for a more permanent solution, I may end up having to put some like vents on the side here, so that air can more freely flow from this kind of section to under the bed. So yeah, let's get going. I don't think it'll be too hard. Okay, so the back door, we've got this panel here, which we'll just open up. And then we've got kind of two different cavities. So we'll fill some in at the top there, we'll fill this in, and then this one should be pretty easy because it's already got kind of a plastic. So we'll take this off and see what's behind it, and we'll shove it with some Rockwool. Okay.
Whew. How dirty is it back here?
Yeah, it's probably all sawdust.
Oh yeah. That's a nice color.
Okay, so then what we're gonna do,
give it a little clean, or?
It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
It's all getting covered up anyways.
Okay.
So maybe we'll get some insulation. We'll just try shoving it all in there.
All right, panel one.
Panel one.
Of
1, 2,
6.
Yeah. So I know we would normally put like the vapor barrier on there. I'm thinking for the winter we may, since this is kind of on here, we may not worry about getting it completely sealed up, because it's not a long-term solution. We are going to be looking to change this in the spring, so it's only a few months away. So yeah, I think we're just going to put these on here, and then we'll use the tuck tape and the plastic on all the other things to kind of hold it in. But when we go and do the sheep's wool, or the what's it called?
Half-block wool.
Half-block wool.
It is sheep's wool.
If we do something like that, then we'll be really careful to make sure we seal it all in with a good vapor barrier.
What is the point of a vapor barrier?
Keep moisture from inside the van, from like us kind of letting out moisture, from that all getting absorbed in all of your insulation.
Gotcha.
And maybe creating mold if you're in there a long time, kind of thing.
Okay, so we've decided that the plastic, because it's not a proper vapor barrier, is not actually what we need. So we are going to finish filling all of the black cavities that have the capsules on them, and then we are going to go to Home Depot to pick up proper vapor barriers so that we do this right and we don't have to redo it. With how cold it is right now, it is bringing us back to the days of when we first started this build, and we were just working on straight metal, trying to lay the floor and get everything going. Ooh, snow! But I'm really excited to get this done. It's been something that we've been talking about. Probably if we were smart, we would have done it in like November, December, but it's okay, we're doing it now. It's a good little project. And then once we're done these back doors, we're gonna work on the inside doors, which will be a lot warmer.
It's a little easier dealing with the stuff inside here, but so we've got this panel, but because of our cabinet, it's kind of blocked, so we're only gonna be able to pull this back about halfway and try to shove the insulation back there as best we can. And then we'll do as much as we can here, zap that in there, and then we can also do the top portion of this door really easily. And then afterwards, we'll save this for after we get the plastic vapor barrier to kind of hold it in.
Alright, well I think it's as full as it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Put back in, and now it's time to do these guys.
So we just tuck tape the whole van now instead of well, we've got the tuck tape in here that's holding in the stuff at the top. We did the whole bottom and then the backs and stuff, so it's really just where the window inserts are that haven't been done so far. So we'll get those done once we get the vapor barrier, which is a little bit of a thicker plastic than what we were working with, and then we can cut the vapor barrier to the size of what we're gonna tape it on there. I think this will make a big difference, because just with the spray foam alone, without these doors being insulated, it was actually staying a pretty good temperature in here. So I think this will just make it even more efficient. So can't wait to see.
So we are off to Home Depot. We will see you when we get to Home Depot to pick up some vapor barrier. Oh my gosh, it's our very first trip to Home Depot of 2022.
Siren going off. They won't let us in.
They're coming for you. Okay, well, it's too cold and it's dark now to finish, so we are gonna head home, but we are going to do the vapor barrier and the rest of the insulation tomorrow. So we will see you tomorrow. Have a good night, guys.
Okay, so I interrupt this programming of insulating the van by a van that will not start. So yesterday morning it was really cold, minus 18 degrees Celsius, and it wouldn't start. I had the keys in there, even when they're wireless keys, but even if I inserted them into the slot, pushing the start button, the dash would light up like normal, no errors. The block heater was running, and it just wouldn't start. The glow lights, or glow plugs, that little symbol would turn on. Just no sound from the engine at all. It doesn't even sound like it's trying to crank. So I thought, okay, well, I kept trying different things. And eventually I ended up wearing the battery down, I think, just from trying so many times inside. So I hooked up some jumper cables, tried some more, no luck. So figured I would try again like later on in the day, and then again today. So this was yesterday, and still the same result, nothing happening. So I've got to think that there's something more going on. Maybe there's a issue with like a starter relay, or I don't know, there's a whole slew of things, but I'm starting to think it's not the battery, because I've got a jumper pack on there right now and it's still not working. So I don't know, I'll show you guys what it's doing, but I think I'm gonna have to call Mercedes roadside assistance and get this thing to the dealership. A new van really should not be on the back of a flatbed twice in the same year. So, but anyways, the Mercedes dealership also has our new head unit in, so if we can get it there, at least they can install that too. But I'll show you what it's doing. So the battery voltage, you can't really see, is 11.9 volts in there. I can unlock the car, button works, locks work, all the lights are nice and bright in here. Everything looks fine on the screen here. And with the wireless key, you can just hold it in your hand, but you can also insert it into a little slot under the cup holders here. Sometimes it asks you to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and hold the brake down, press the start button. And it looks normal. Right now it should be running basically, and it says start engine to see information or whatever. And so one of the things that we thought about was that it's almost like it's acting like it's not in park. So tried putting it into, like, if I go ahead and put it on here, it shifted into drive, shifted into neutral, put it in park. Try again, like maybe the sensor that detects that it's in park isn't working or something. But even if I put it in neutral, it should start in neutral as well. Try to start that. Once again, it just doesn't even try. Then put it back in park and shut it off. But that's literally all it's doing. It's not doing anything. So I'm gonna call Mercedes roadside, see if they can get a flatbed truck out here, and then we'll load it up, get it to the dealership, and then hopefully it's an easy fix tomorrow. But just kind of annoying, like a brand new vehicle shouldn't have this many issues with, well, I guess this is really the first issue with it not starting, but this issue shouldn't come up in the first year. So let's see if we can get a hold of roadside assistance.
Press 1 for roadside assistance. If you are calling, please be advised that we are experiencing a higher than normal call volume. The wait time to speak to a representative may be longer than normal.
Kamal speaking, how can I help you?
Hey there, I've got a Sprinter, 2020 Sprinter van that it just won't start. I troubleshooted the battery and everything. It just doesn't even seem like it's trying to start. I think I'm going to need a tow truck to get it to the dealership.
Yeah, I can certainly provide you with roadside service here. I can certainly understand your situation.
Okay, so they picked up 90 minutes or less, I guess. CAA is going to be here to tow it away at Mercedes' expense. So hopefully they bring whatever they need, because it's a big van and it's heavy, and we'll get it on the truck, and then I'll follow it to the dealership, and then we'll set it up because I want to make sure that the heat stays on tonight and everything. So anyways, let's hope that this move goes smoothly. Okay, so the flatbed driver actually got here, and he was surprised by how big the van is, even though I told him on the phone that it is a big van. It's taller than the 170-inch is with the high roof anyways. So I went ahead and figured, he said basically you can't take it, and that they're gonna have to send out another type of tow truck to try to see if they can just tow it instead of putting it on a flatbed. I went into the fuse panel into the fuse box to see if it was a fuse, and it was. So it looks like this is the starter fuse here, and it's blown, so it's 25 amps. I'm going to see if I can put a replacement fuse in there just to get it started. If a fuse blew, it's probably blowing for a reason. But I'm going to see if I put a replacement in there. If it doesn't blow, if it at least starts, that will allow me to drive to the dealership, and then I'll have to deal with the tow truck. So anyways, let's go see if I put a new fuse in there, if we can get it to start. Okay, so the starter fuse was in there, and I do have a whole bunch of 25 amp fuses here. So that was in there just like that. So I'm gonna try putting in this fuse. Now hopefully, I can't remember whether it was at the top or bottom. Pretty sure it was at the top. All right, let's try it. Okay, here goes nothing. Key in there. And it starts. Okay, so, I mean, there must be a reason why that blew. But at least it's running now. So we'll get it to the dealership, and then they can figure that out tomorrow. Didn't film on the way there, but I just dropped it off to the dealership. It ran fine once it started, obviously. It's just the starter. So anyways, there's got to be a reason why that fuse was blowing. So I parked it at the dealership and I put the bad fuse back in there so they don't just hop in there and hit the start button and just tell me that it works fine. So I'll let them figure that out. I left a little arrow to which fuse it was. So we'll see what they say tomorrow. I'll let you know what happens. And hopefully this is the end of the issues we have with the Sprinter. Have a good night, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow. I don't know why I always say have a good night, guys. You guys aren't going to bed. I am. So I'm going to have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, we got the van back from the dealership. So, couple things. One, the head unit is completely replaced, so we will not have that problem here. And Nicole is here as well, by the way. Head unit is completely replaced, so hopefully there's no more smacking the dash. The entire thing is new. The screen's new. The back end is new. So there's no reason for that ever to happen again. And then the whole starting issue, the Sprinter tech, he's seen this happen before on Sprinters in cold temperatures. They are diesels, but he didn't really know why it happened. He just has seen it before, and he said to watch for it to happen again and keep spares on hand. The only thing that I can think of is usually you should run a block heater, the engine block heater, when it's really cold out. It was minus 17 that day Celsius, and I didn't run it. I kind of suspect maybe it could be because it was just so cold and I hadn't heated up the engine before I went to try to start it, and maybe that's why. But anyways, we're going to keep some more 25 amp fuses. I'm going to show Nicole how to fix them in case she's on the road and can't get, she doesn't want to be like stuck somewhere on a Crown Land road and not be able to go. But we were going to continue and finish the doors today, but another higher priority item came up. Yesterday, I put a temperature sensor down here in the cabinet, and because I've got a temperature sensor at the back, and we've been trying to go this winter without having to really winterize too much stuff in here because we know that we're going to be using it. And so what I've done is we've been running the heater, and I've got a temperature sensor by the back door, and that's at the furthest point in the van, like the furthest spot from the heater itself. And I've been monitoring that because the water tank's under the bed, the batteries are under the bed, and then the water lines run kind of underneath this cabinet here and all the way over to where the sink is. So far up until yesterday it seemed to be fine, but then yesterday I decided I'm going to put one of those sensors down in this cabinet and see what the temperature is in there. Sure enough, it was like 12 degrees everywhere else in the van, but down in that cabinet it was minus 1 degree. So thought, oh, that's not good. So I went back to the van and I checked, and sure enough, those water lines were frozen. So I heated up that cabinet, and then eventually those lines thawed, and so now, and there's no leaks, so nothing cracked, so no damage, which is good. But now we need to go ahead and actually put some antifreeze in. So I think that's the decision. There's other options, like you could put kind of like the heating coils around the lines to try to keep them thawed, but that's going to use power, and we got to think about all that. So maybe we'll look at some other solutions. I guess the one learning here for building a van, if I could build this van from scratch again, there would be one change, and that would be I would probably actually put the heater, instead of under the passenger seat, I would put it underneath this bench seat right here. And the reason is, I've seen some people do it, most people do it where we did it, but if you put it under here, you could vent some of the heat underneath the bed, where heat has a hard time getting to right now. Some heat could come out into the cabin, and then you could vent some heat underneath this cabinet as well. And then all of these sections, all three sections would be, or one, two, three, four, I guess, sections could be completely warm, and then you would have no problems with water lines. But because the water line runs way down there, right along the edge of the van, right beside the cold wall of the van, even though it's insulated, it's like the coldest spot. So anyways, it still froze. So now what we're gonna do is drain all the water out of here. I've already got most of it out, but we're gonna drain the leftover water that's in the tank out of here. And then I've got non-toxic pink antifreeze, which I've used in the past for our trailers. We're gonna put that in. Unfortunately, I have to actually put it in our water tank. I usually try to avoid that and have like a bypass valve, but I don't have that on here. Maybe something that I'll do next year. So in the spring, we're gonna really have to flush out the tank to make sure there's no taste. But we're gonna put that into the tank once I get it completely empty, flush both the sink and the spray hose out the back until pink starts coming out, and then we should be fine. and then I think we can forget and not have to really worry about this. I'll still want to keep the temperature above 0 because I don't want the batteries to go below 0. But other than that, at least I don't have to worry about frozen water lines.
And we did disconnect our water purifying system, which is already out.
And I kind of just bull in a china shop disconnected it by just cutting the water line because I couldn't get the shark bait connection off, or shark bite connection off, I guess is what it's called.
Guess we just have to call Chris back.
Or I'll just put a new connection on in the spring, but that's a spring problem. Later Chris problem.
You're creating a lot of spring problems.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I guess we were really hoping just to be able to use the water during the winter, but I think it's just going to be too much of a risk. Or what happens if, like, in the middle of the night, this thing's parked in the garage or in the driveway, and the heater shuts off at like 1 in the morning? I wouldn't know until probably 7 in the morning or so, and the van would be like minus 10 degrees. Everything would be frozen and probably crack. So, this is probably the safer answer. So, let's get started on. We've already got the purifier out. Next thing I'm going to do is, because the water tank has a release valve, or not a release valve, but the valve, the hole where all the water flows to the water pump is in the one corner. I'm going to jack up with some blocks the right side of the van so it's leaning this way, and then we're already in the driveway, so we're going to get all the water to make sure it flows out of the tank as much as we can before we go and put the pink stuff in. So let's do that now. Okay, welcome to my wiring mess again. So there's the water tank there. You can see we still have some water left inside the tank. You can see the water valve or water line comes out this back corner. So I've already got the van tilted back, and we're going to put these orange blocks underneath the tires on that side so that we just literally get the water all pooling in this corner. We'll drain out as much as we can with the pump, and then once it's completely drained out as much as we can, we'll flow a bunch of pink antifreeze through there and then suck it through the system. And since all of our water lines are this nice clear PEX color, we'll be able to see the pink flowing through it until basically it's in all the lines. So let's get to that. Now that we've got it angled this way, you can see all the water's pooling in this one corner. So we'll turn the pump on, get that out of there, and then we'll flush the antifreeze in. Okay. We'll flush as much as we can out of here. The pump says it can run dry for a little bit, so I'm not too worried about that. We'll just let the pump try to suck as much of it out of there as we can, because we want to have as little actual water in there. Otherwise, there's a chance of it freezing. So once we put the pink antifreeze in there, we're going to flush a bunch of that through to hopefully kind of push the water that's in there out that we aren't able to get. Pump's off, so now let's go, and I've got a funnel, and we're just going to fill this into the water tank, a bunch of this stuff, and then we'll start flushing it out.
Adventure is getting the water cap unfrozen.
I think reasons are adding up for why we shouldn't have water in the van in the winters. I definitely don't endorse this water fill cap, though. I'd say it's not bad, but I think there's probably better ones. There we go.
Got it?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it's definitely icy in there.
Wow. That's very icy.
So now, I need to feed this in there so that it gets into the water tank. Because of the way it's angled, I don't want pink antifreeze to go. There we go. Got it. I don't want pink antifreeze to come back out, so
yeah.
This way I know
anything
we put in here will end up in the tank. Start with one, then I'll probably flush it out a little bit, and then we'll do another one, and I've got a third just in case. Okay, so I'm going to turn the pump on, flush until the pink starts coming out. Well, I'll keep flushing even after the pink, but down here you'll see the water line. You'll see the pink kind of come flying through it, so it might look cool.
That's it.
It's Kool-Aid. It's the Kool-Aid tap that you wanted as a kid. That's how you winterize a van when it's minus 25 out. No, it's not minus 25. It was out minus 25 out like this morning.
And it's going to be again on Monday.
Yeah, so basically all the water lines are now full of this pink antifreeze, which is good to minus 50 Celsius. Even the hose that goes all the way to the back where we have that spray hose, I've got that all done there. So it's all the way through the whole water system, so we should be good. We just have to make sure we don't turn on any of the taps in the meantime, just to kind of keep it kind of all the way through all the plumbing in there, and we'll keep the water pump off. But
now that we've got everything done, I think it's finally time to go winter camping.
Tomorrow we're going out.
We're going out. It is supposed to be extremely cold this weekend, so fingers crossed we make it through. We're probably gonna learn a few more things that we're gonna need to do to keep the van cozy and warm to use it all winter.
Yeah, I've got some ideas on kind of some ducting of heat and stuff that maybe we'll have to make some modifications in the spring, but we'll kind of talk through that next week when we go through the winter camping experience.
So we'll see you next week when we are surviving winter camping. Have a good week, guys.
See ya.
Bye.